Alright, in this video we're going to do part 2, and let's start with the directions. Go ahead and use the given sketch again to make the model in Fusion 360. The grid spacing is going to be 0.25 again, and this time we're going to set the material to ABS plastic, and in addition to that we're going to adjust the appearance to a color of your choice. Then once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and create the drawing. But this time we're going to use the unidirectional and chain dimensioning systems. So that's something that's different. Again, you learned about that in the questions that you answered prior to these models. To create the unidirectional dimensions, you're going to use an A-size ASME template. So that's a different template than what we did before. Before we did the ISO template. So to utilize unidirectional, we need to use an ASME template, which I'll show you how. And I'm going to move a little bit quicker through this. I'm going to get you started, and I'm going to have you make the model on your own, and then I'll show you, we'll do a quick review on materials and appearance. But let's go ahead and get into Fusion. And let's go ahead and do a save on a new file. Make sure that the location is your week 3 eLearning folder or whatever folder you set up for that part 1, wherever part 1 was saved. Make sure that this is going into the same folder. So this one is going to be part 2 dash ABS plastic. So we're making sure it's saved in the right location, giving it a proper name, and go ahead and hit save. We're going to start a new sketch on the front face, and remember we're going to start at the origin. What I would like you to do is go ahead and create the front view of this model and then extrude it to create the part. I'm not going to show you how to do that because you should know how to do that already. So pause the video, go ahead and do that. And once you're done dimensioning, go ahead and hit finish sketch. And then hit the home button on the view cube and yours should look like mine. We'll go ahead and extrude, and I believe it was 1.25 for our depth. I'm going to hit enter or click OK. So that's where you should be. You should have this done. You should have been able to do all that on your own. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick save. Say OK, that'll create version 2 for me. And the next thing we're going to do is materials and appearance. So again, to do materials, I'm going to go modify physical material. And if you remember from the directions, I'm going to collapse that. We want to go to plastic. So I'm going to expand plastic. There's my ABS. I'm going to left click and drag it onto my part. I'm going to go ahead and close that window. Now for appearance, you could go, I believe, to the same spot. Or if you notice, you can click A on the keyboard. So I'm going to click on appearance, and appearance will maintain the material, but you could change the color of it. So if you notice right here in the design, here's my ABS plastic. I'm going to double click on that, and then you should get a window that pops up. For some reason mine's kind of going off the screen a little bit. Let me just move this for a second so you can see it. So when I double click it, that window should pop up. And then you can go ahead and drag your slider. Oh, I don't want it to be white though, so move the cursor somewhere. So click somewhere in the spectrum here, and then you can kind of drag this. So maybe get to a color you want first. So let's say I want to go green. And then in here, do I want to go a bright green or a darker green, like a forest green? So kind of drag the slider and then pick what kind of tone you want based off of that color. So I'm going to go green. You pick whatever color you want. And then when you're done, hit done, say close, and then let's do a final save on the part. Say OK, and then now we can go ahead and do the drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the drop down, go to drawing, just hover over it and click on from design. I want to make a drawing from this design. Now we did have some differences compared to the last one. If you remember, I want you to use an ASME template, and specifically an A-size piece of paper. So it's already set up to ASME, but the sheet size We're going to go 11 by 8.5 for the A. And then I'm going to say OK. Now, let's just say you made the drawing and now you're like, whoops, I accidentally picked the wrong sheet size. So what you could do is just go down here into the settings, the sheet settings, and go into sheet size, and you could pick which one you want. So you can go ahead and do that under sheet size if you needed to. The other thing I want to do, since we're down here already, click on the annotation settings, and remember, let's turn on trailing zeros. So display trailing zeros. So go ahead and do that. And since I was changing some settings, that base view went away. But we'll get to that in 1 second. Let's go ahead and fill out the title block while we're here. For drawing number, so remember to get into the title block, just hover over it till you see it's highlighted, and then double click it. And then now we can click into any one of these areas that we want to change. The only one that I really want to fill out is the drawing number. So I'm going to double click right here on that blue drawing number. I'm going to type in number 2. And then I'm going to go up here and click OK. Because this is our second drawing for this assignment. And then finally, let's add in our picture again. So if you remember from the last one, we went and saved a picture of the Steelman. So hopefully you still have that in your downloads. So go ahead and click Insert. Navigate to wherever you have it saved. I put my picture in the downloads. I'm going to click on that and open it. And let's bring in that picture again. Now, I'm not going to, don't snap to that. I don't want to snap to that. I kind of want the lower left corner to be, I don't know, somewhere about here. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And then I'm going to adjust that scale again. I'm going to try 0.4 again. That looks pretty darn good. I'm going to say OK. Remember, if you're not happy with the location, click on the edge. Click Move. I'm going to click the middle. Maybe I want to go a little bit to the right. If I'm not happy with it again, I could click again, move it, wherever I want it to be. So I just want to try and get it somewhat centered in that space and then click OK. Alright, so we got the sheet all set up. It automatically inserted the project name. It automatically inserted the title. It brought in my name, the date. It'll bring in the scale once we actually bring in the drawing. So let's go ahead and start left to right. So I'm going to go with the base view. So left click up there. And we don't want a 1:2 scale. Let's do a 1:1. We got enough space for this. So I'm going to drop down. Is it going to let me do it? Alright. For some reason the drop down isn't cooperating. Oh, alright. Not sure what's going on. Let me click on that again. Alright, let me try this one more time. Something's not cooperating here. Normally it lets me hit that drop down and change it 1:1, but alright, I'm going to just place it and just say okay. Let's see. Well, let me do it now. Maybe it's, what's going on here? Oh, for some reason it's popping up on my other screen. I'm using dual monitors. For you, you should see a drop down. Go ahead and change it to 1:1. So change that to 1:1, and then you should be able to leave everything else. I'm going to say OK. And then now I'm going to click on that. I'm going to left click this little box and hold and drag this down about right here. We might have to move that later. We'll find out. Let's go ahead and project the other view. So I'm going to go projected. And then notice it automatically projects from that one. So I'm going to left click for my top view, left click for my right side view, left click for my isometric, and then once I'm done I have to right click and tell it I'm done by right clicking and choosing OK. Let's fix our isometric. I'm going to double click on the edge of that. I'm going to change it to shaded and then hit close. I'm going to position that shaded isometric. Oh, I got to click on that gray dot. I always want to click on the edge for some reason, probably because of Inventor. I'm going to left click and move that up into the top corner. Left click off of it. And what else do we got? Okay, I think we're good. I think we're ready to start dimensioning. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about dimensions. Remember, we want to use unidirectional, which is just standard in this ASME template, which I'll explain in a minute. The new one that is going to be maybe fairly new is chain dimensioning, if you haven't heard of that before or seen it, but you should have because of what you did in the previous project or previous assignment. So let's go ahead and start dimensioning. I'm going to do a a size dimension here. And then I'm going to do a size dimension here. Right click and say OK. Oh, it didn't add that other one. Let's add that back in right there. But we got a problem. We have some dimensions running into each other. So I'm going to escape to get a dimension tool. I'm going to zoom in on that for you. Now you got to be careful because you got to pay attention to which one you're trying to click on. I'm trying to get on the 0.5. I want to click on that. And I want to click and drag that gray box for the text over to the other side. So now they're not running into each other, following standard dimensioning procedures. I'm going to add in another dimension from here to here. I'm going to pull that down, snap. I'm going to add in another dimension from here. No, I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to come back to that in a second. And I'm going to do another dimension from here to here. From here to here. Giving my overall height, my overall depth, and my overall width. So we're still missing some dimensions, and I wonder, can you count how many missing dimensions we still that we don't have? I'll give you a second to think about that. What dimensions are we missing? We're actually missing 4 dimensions. We need some location and size dimensions here. So to do this though, we're going to use a chain dimension. So I'm going to left click on dimension first, and I'm going to add in this dimension. And I'm going to add that in. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to grab this dimension. I'm going to pull the 0.25 out over here. Left click, add that in, hit escape. And then now I'm going to use a chain dimension. What is a chain dimension? If you look, chain dimension, it goes from one dimension right into the next, which is different from baseline. You can see the example in the graphic there. So I'm going to click that. Notice it says select base dimension. I'm going to click this edge right here on the 0.25. Notice it's chaining off of that edge, and now I'm going to left click there. Hit escape. Oops, I don't want to hit escape. I want to hit right click or hit enter. So alright, I'm going to try it again. Chain dimension, left click there, and then I need to right click and say OK. So that is chain dimensioning. Chain dimensioning is going from one dimension right into the next. Okay, so that's that one. I also wanted to remind you, if you're catching any mistakes, if you see a number that's wrong, go back to the part file, go back into the sketch, double click on it, make your changes, hit the save button, come back into the drawing, click the little link button which will pull in the newest updated version into your drawing, and then it should be good. So make sure you're doing that if you catch a mistake. Let's do some more chain dimensioning. I'm going to go dimension from here to here, add that in, hit escape. I'm going to drop down, I'm going to go chain. I want to chain from here to here. Right click, say OK. I don't like the way that 0.5 is positioned, so I'm going to click on it, left click and drag the text up, and I'm going to go like that. I like that better. That looks a little bit more neater. I think that's it. That is every dimension that we need, but we still need to add in, I want to add in a note like we did last time, and then we'll save after that, and you'll screen clip into your binder. So let's use a text tool. I'm going to drag out a nice big kind of text box over here, and I'm going to start typing all caps. For this drawing, we used an ASME template to create unidirectional dimensions. We also used chain dimensions in the drawing. So just again reminding you what we did. I'm going to click close on that. So it's just a reminder like, hey, these are chain dimensions. I know I didn't talk about it, but you should know what unidirectional is. Unidirectional means that all horizontal and vertical dimensions are all facing in one direction. So notice how these are orientated in the same direction versus the aligned dimensions where the vertical ones were flipped. They were turned sideways. Alright, so that is that one. Let's save it. Make sure it's got the right name. That's good. It's going in the right spot. I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to use a Windows Shift S. I'm going to grab this thing. And I'm going to go into my OneNote binder. And I'm going to paste it right in there. I'm going to resize it. Make sure it's not going so small, though, that Mr. West can't read it. So make sure I can see everything. Notice it automatically did add in that scale for us when we brought in the model. And that is it for that part 2.